Hello, everyone. Happy Friday. Welcome back to Fearless Fridays. Today is Friday, April 12th, and this is episode 24 of Fearless Fridays. Thank you so much for watching. If you have watched me before, if you have tuned in before, I thank you for joining me again. And if this is your first time watching Fearless Fridays, I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. I hope that you will subscribe on YouTube or on Instagram so that you will get Fearless Fridays every Friday. But yes, thank you so much for watching. I always hope that something that I say helps or blesses or encourages or inspires you or even challenges you just a bit. That's always my hope and my goal and my prayer. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you get something out of this. So I want to share with you a thought that I had a long time ago, and I had the thought a long time ago, and then it recently came back to me, and I've been kind of pondering it for a little while. And this is the thought: do not build a house where you should be pitching a tent. Do not build a house where you should be pitching a tent. And let me explain to you what I mean. You may already kind of know what I mean, but let me explain to you what I mean. Sometimes we find ourselves in situations in our lives where we feel like the situation is long term. We feel like the situation is the final destination, if you will, of our lives. It could be a job. It could be a city that you live in. It could be an organization that you're a part of. It could be a relationship that you're in. You feel like, okay, this is where I am. This is cool. You treat it like it's permanent, but it's actually meant to be temporary. And because you're treating it like it's permanent, you are building a house. You are building your life there in that situation. But you should actually only be pitching a tent, meaning that when the situation is over and done with, you can get up and move easily. And that's what I mean by do not build a house where you should be pitching a tent. Do not treat temporary situations like they are permanent situations. Let me give you an illustration. Let's say you're going on a long trip, right? Let's say you're going from, I don't know, New York to LA, right? And so between New York and LA, you have a bit of a layover. And maybe the layover is a good amount of time, and you can go out into the layover city and you can explore it and you can have a good time, and maybe you can meet new people. Maybe you have time to do all those things in the layover city. But eventually, because it's the layover city and because you're only meant to be there temporarily, you got to go back to the airport. You got to get back on the plane so that you can get to your final destination, right? Well, what if you treated the layover city like it was permanent? What if you got off the plane in the layover city, left the airport, had some time to kind of explore, and you said, you know what, I really like it here. I'm going to stay here. This was part of the plan, right? This was part of the trip for me to be in this city. You know what? I think I'm going to buy a house. You know what? I think I'm going to get a job. I'm going to do all of these things that kind of signal permanence, when actually this was just meant to be a short-term situation. Eventually, you're going to start to get antsy. You're going to start to get anxious. You're going to start to feel like, wait a minute, there should have been more to this trip. You're going to start to feel like you're stuck. And that's because you have made something temporary into something permanent. And I feel like that happens a lot in our lives. We have a vision, we have a goal, we have a plan. We feel like we have a clear direction on where we're supposed to go, what we're supposed to do. And we go to that place and we do that thing. We enter into that organization. We start working at that job. We go to that city. Maybe we even enter into a relationship. And we feel like, yes, I am on track. I am on the path to my vision. I am on the path to the purpose for my life. I had clear direction that I was supposed to be here, and I'm here. But then after a while, you start feeling like, just like in the layover city, you start to feel a little antsy. You start to feel a little anxious. You start to feel like this can't be all there was to this situation. This can't be all there was to my purpose. I know that there was more than this. I know that there was a larger vision than what I'm experiencing right now. And if you have made something that was meant to be temporary into something permanent, you're going to feel like that. And the danger that comes is that when you start to feel anxious, when you start to feel antsy, when you start to feel like, maybe it's time to go, you're going to question that, because you're going to say, but wait, this is where I was supposed to be. This is where I was supposed to go. I was supposed to join this organization. I was supposed to maybe be in this relationship. I was supposed to have this job. I was supposed to go to the city. Yeah, you didn't get anything wrong. You are supposed to do all of those things, but none of those things were the final destination. None of those things were meant to be permanent. Those things were meant to be temporary. Those things were layover things, things that you were meant to do on the way to the final destination. But because you've made them permanent, you're now feeling like if you move, you're doing something wrong. You now feel like if I move on, I'm doing something wrong. No, you're not doing anything wrong. You were meant to move on. It's just that you have begun to treat the temporary thing like it's permanent. I think that sometimes God puts us in situations in our lives that are meant to be temporary because maybe we need to get ready for the final destination, but sometimes the final destination needs to get ready for us. Sometimes there are things that need to happen in the final destination. There's preparation that needs to be made in the final destination so that when we get there, it is ready for us. And everything that we are meant to walk into is already there and already in place. But if you treat the temporary place like it's the final destination, you'll never get to that thing that you were meant to walk into. You'll never get to that purpose that you were meant to fulfill. You'll never fully see that vision play out in front of you. Don't build a house where you should be pitching a tent. Don't set up permanent structures in places where you should be setting up structures that you can easily pick up, throw over your shoulder, and go when it's time to go. It doesn't mean that you didn't hear clearly. It doesn't mean that you're not being obedient. It just means that when you feel that need to move, when you feel like it's time to go, there's more to this, doesn't mean that you were being disobedient. Doesn't mean that you didn't hear clearly. It just means that it's time to go. And if you have made permanent situations, it's going to be harder to pick up and move because now you've got all these permanent structures that you've built. But if you've kept it kind of fluid and made sure that you kept the mindset that this is temporary, when it's time to go, you are going to know clearly it's time to go. This was a layover city. This was a temporary situation. And now it's time to go so that we can move forward with the vision, move forward with the plan, and get to the purpose. Do not build houses where you should be pitching a tent. Be discerning, be wise, be mindful, and be careful about doing this. Be obedient. Go where you're meant to go. Do what you're meant to do. Interact with whoever you're meant to interact with. But know, is this permanent or is this temporary? Is there a lesson that I need to learn here before I move on? Or is this where I'm meant to be? Be clear, be wise, be discerning, and be open to receive the instruction that says, it's time to go. Because when it's time to go, honey, we don't have time to waste. When it's time to go, it's time to go. Don't build houses where you should be pitching a tent. Don't make permanent structures. Don't build permanent structures in temporary places. And don't treat temporary places as if they are the final destination. I hope that helped you. I hope that blessed you. This is something that I have been thinking about a lot and making sure that I am being aware of in my own life. And it's something that I want to share with you. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it blessed you. As always, fear is stupid. Get out in the world. Live, love, go, do, be. And I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye.